Hello everyone, welcome back. So what are we watching today?
Well, let me answer you in the form of a question. If you're so smart, why aren't you rich?
Today, very good. Today, we are going to be talking about and watching one of my favorite episodes of all time from this show. If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Ended up having quite a career and a relationship with DC after this.
Yeah.
He has just kept doing DC things.
Yeah, he's been in quite a few things. He even did some video game work here and there.
Yeah.
And he was in Smallville, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I think, most people know him for now.
Yep. And we were just talking about him, but yeah, he has had quite a career, but at the same time, he's also given so many great different performances everywhere. And I think he even could have played Riddler in live action back then.
Oh, I think so,
If we made a Batman movie with Riddler in the early 2000s, he would have been great.
I mean, it would have been kind of a slightly older Riddler, but that'd be all right.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. Or Clock King, since that's another big thing.
Clock King, I was gonna say a more like comic book or street level Clock King, just like the one we got. And frankly, the guy that's playing him in Arrow reminds me a little bit of John Glover in places. Yeah,
you're right. It's funny because when we said John Glover there for a second, I almost thought of Danny Glover, but yeah, John Glover could totally.
That's a different person.
Although Danny Glover could do the same stuff, I guess, if we made it in the 80s.
Pretty sure he's older, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Make a Batman Riddler movie in the 80s with Danny Glover.
With Danny Glover, yeah. Do a John Glover, Danny Glover team-up.
Oh,
no relation. Anyway, yeah. I wonder if they ever work together. I don't think they have.
I doubt it.
Anyway, well, we're going to go ahead and start talking about this episode while watching it. Well, we're already talking about it, but while we're watching it. And if you want to watch the episode with us, go ahead and pull out your DVDs or go to Amazon Prime, however you want to watch it. Get it past all the menus, get it to timestamp 0. Make sure you're watching If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And not some other episode, or this will be something of a social experiment. And get ready to press play as soon as I say now. Everybody ready? Everybody, Steve, ready?
Ready.
Everybody press play, right? Now!
First appearance of the Riddler. This will be exciting.
Oh boy! So excited.
Yep.
And I just can't hide it. It's one of my favorite episodes. I love the Riddler. The Riddler has gotten, I think that just in the last couple of years, his goofy, not very menacing reputation.
Yeah. It's been something that's been going on for a while, but these last few years particularly have been great, especially with Zero Year and how massive that book was and how he was the main driving force through it.
Yeah, I think the 1-2 punch was Arkham City and then Zero Year.
Yes.
I think that a lot.
And everyone loves the Riddler trophy stuff in Arkham Knight and Arkham City and all that. I don't like hunting for riddles, but he's cool in those games.
And don't you think? Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Wally Wingert, and Wally Wingert voices him there, and I've gotten to talk to Wally Wingert. He's a really cool guy, and it's just so neat that he got to voice that, and was in all 4 of them, and did quite a bit of voice work in all 4 of those.
Yeah, you're right.
Because he was one of the people that was brought back for Origins.
Oh yeah, he was. I forgot.
Huh? Foreshadowing here that I'd never noticed before until my most recent viewing of this episode, and that's we're about to see all of the cubicles in this office that are set up to look like a maze.
Yes, it's
really cool.
And I mean, it's a really good, interesting symbol for what this Riddler kind of turns out to be, which is. And I really love how the Riddler's animated and drawn all the way through. Like, he's always got that smug, superior look on him all the time. Mm-hmm. There's never a moment where he does some of them. Although there's one I really like that we'll get to later.
Yeah, well, and Batman writers doing Riddler stories always talk about how hard it is to write riddles.
Yeah.
And I think I've always thought that part of the reason that Nolan never wanted to go for the Riddler was just because he didn't want to have to come up with riddles.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky because a riddle being different than just trivia, and Snyder does that really well.
I think Grant so too. I don't think Paul Dini's bad at it either.
Yeah, no. Paul Dini's are a little bit easier, but they're still riddles, which I appreciate.
Well, and of course, I liked Paul Dini's Riddler a lot in Gotham City Sirens and wanted so badly for him to get a monthly as a private detective.
Yeah, the stuff he set up in the main detective book with Detective Riddler and him working with Batman.
So this is one of those.
So this is the same writer as the Strange Swain and the Clock King, which is kind of bizarre.
Of course it is, and it's also weird that Clock King came before this, right?
Yeah, and then this guy's only
Clock
written
King-
those 3 episodes in the whole series.
Oh, that's weird. Because Clock King reminds me of the Riddler in a lot of ways,
Yeah,
and and also when you start comparing them, it's really interesting that one of them had. Well, they both have vendettas against a singular entity, against one person, and both of them are powerful figures in whatever organization they're in. And one it turns into kind of in a way kind of an anti-political figure, and the other an anti-corporate figure. I think that's interesting.
Oh yeah, you're right. And have we had Batman Forever yet?
What? No, huh?
No. What year was that? 95?
95.
95. Okay. So I guess I know there was some ideas to throw Riddler into Batman Returns, which may have been why we didn't get him right away. In the animated series. That script got abandoned really quickly, but originally there was some evidence that maybe he was going to be there. So I guess at this point they weren't just sure about the future.
That would have changed the whole face of potentially the future for that character, because the Riddler, because we would have gotten a really creepy Dark Riddler really early. If Tim Burton had done that in Batman Returns, probably if Batman Returns was still that kind of freakish, creepy kind of movie.
Yeah.
But then again, that's somewhat unfair, because it's not like Danny DeVito completely changed the way everybody thought of the Penguin.
No, that's true. I mean, Danny DeVito.
It has influences, but you still get the sophisticate.
Yeah. I mean, the most Batman Returns did in terms of influencing characters is Catwoman and the whole weird, bizarre cat thing. Like, Catwoman being obsessed with cats was not as big as it was until Returns. This computer game actually looks like it'd be kind of fun. I feel like I would play this if I ever saw one that would really like it.
I think it's really interesting to do a video game in this series, because we're starting to blur the lines a little bit between this timeless feel and what's going on right now. Yeah. And interesting that we follow this up with an episode that's all about virtual reality, because we were follows up with Riddler, because we were all about virtual reality in the 90s and trying to make that work. And we've got black and white TVs in this series, because we're trying to make it look more timeless, and we're trying to make it look like a 40s noir thing. And then you throw video games in there, and it's like, what would a video game in this world that's based on bit, and they're even using Mario sound effects for what is essentially a dungeon crawler puzzle game?
Yeah.
And it just sounds really weird. I mean, this would have been like right around Donkey Kong Country, right after that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So I mean, like, we already have we already have Sonic the Hedgehog at this point. We have things that look way more graphically intensive than that.
Yeah, and then also the fact that the video games are based on mythology, and that they've got very much a
That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
I also want to mention that this is my favorite Riddler costume in all of his history. This is the best Riddler costume, I think. It looks so cool. I would wear that suit.
I love that shot of his face. That's we've done that a lot in comics, like recent stuff right before 52. Like that's basically what he was wearing when he was a private detective.
Yeah. Sometimes you would go without the jacket. Sometimes it'd be a little bit more purple. But yeah, that's basically the template he had for a while. There was a story in what was it? There was an ongoing around the time of like. He got plastic surgery, and he got like this whole black suit thing going for him, and he beat the crap out of Green.
To ask, like would Riddler have become the brainy superior know-it-all if it hadn't been for the fact that he was born Ed Ridley's name?
Yeah.
Because I like Edward Nygma being yes, it's obviously a play on words, and that's why we named him that, because we called him the Riddler, but because it's like a play on words with his name, and he's just clever, and he thinks of stuff like that. But also, his name is spelled differently than Enigma. It's with a Y and not an I.
Yeah.
And Gotham changed that. I don't like that.
Yeah. And in the comics, he was Edward Nashton in the comics, which I didn't like very much either.
And so that's a place where I feel like we're not just being clever with names, but we're actually doing something with it.
The stuff you can get away with in a comic book world, and I don't like that they try to make it more realistic with stuff like Gotham or now.
This is one of those things where you've got to have somebody save, and we talked over it earlier, but I wanted to talk about that for a second because it's kind of in interesting that that intelligent people would naturally just have money because what else would you do with intelligence?
Yeah.
It's like really sad, short-sighted way of looking at things. The one big hole in all of this for me is Edward Nygma did kind of sign a contract, and this guy, while he's a total...
I think so. Like that's what he does at the beginning of the episode, where he's just walking around, doing that puzzle with that really smug smile, acting like as if everyone's watching him be a genius, and he's all by himself. And his boss is just staring at him, grinning, because he knows that Riddler is so in his own mind that he's not going to notice those things. And I guess in a way, that's kind of how Batman and Robin beat him, where they kind of just break the rules of his game.
Yeah. And like he is that smart, but the problem is the more you think you have the wool over everybody's eyes and you've got the upper hand on everybody, the more you've got to pay attention.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know why Batman has to have a palm-top computer in order to read Morse code. Like, this is a guy that can read lips. You're telling me that Batman doesn't already know Morse code?
That's a good point.
Batman should know Morse code. He shouldn't need a... Like he shouldn't have to rely that much on technology, and especially in this episode where he's like matching wits with the other smart, potentially allegedly smartest person.
Does that computer do anything except Morse code?
Yeah, because you never see him open it for anything else.
Exactly.
But I like the way the Batmobile takes off here, and Robin's not ready for it. That's kind of fun. Kinds of intelligence.
Yeah.
And that when you get to the end, Batman is not above cheating because the stakes are too high.
Yeah.
And he outsmarts the bad guy by doing what's necessary to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, it's that Morrison Joker line where the Joker says, every time I try to think outside the box, Batman builds a bigger box of institution you created for yourself, and is someone not smarter if they can break that for you?
Yeah.
Because Riddler, again, is just so stuck in his own mind that even if there are people smarter than him, he only sees them in relation to what he knows. Riddler's not a genius when it comes to...
Play your game, but they're not going to be... But they're not... Ranger, right? That, like, he's created, like you said, this game that's all about mythology. He's playing God right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And... Now, we should, though, talk about the practicality of this theme park, because it's hilarious. So somebody built this maze. Did Riddler... I guess Riddler had enough time to install death traps?
I guess.
Because they wouldn't just be there already, and I want to know if the Hand of Fate was already a thing built into the maze for the theme park, because the idea is that, based on the game that Edward Nygma made, which I think is really cool, because we're in his world, literally.
Yeah.
And they found a somewhat convincing way to make that happen, which I think is really cool. This isn't just a generic maze he found, but actually a maze built on his work, and he comes in and takes it over because he feels like he should own it in the first place.
Yeah.
But does the Hand of Fate is really sophisticated technology. I don't know how that thing gets into and get it in there somehow this fast. Is he like Cisco fast? In building things? Or was it already there? And if it was already there, then how in the world are they able to legally have a hand that picks a person up without...
The way to ask, why don't we have hoverboards yet if we've got the Hand of Fate?
That's right. Yeah, so here comes the Hand of Fate, and I don't know where Manos is. I don't know where he is, but there's his Hand of Fate.
He's just watching behind the scenes. The Riddler's his puppet all along. It's like Hush universe.
The Arab eating with your right hand riddle is weird because the riddle was which way to the eating plays.
Really like this one.
This one's great. Yeah.
This
the
one's
3 stars
genius.
thing. It's good.
Because I mean, if you actually go and look up music, there are no sharps on the key of C. That's how that works. That's awesome. That's when this show was actually smarter than some.
The problem, of course, is that if you watch the show and you're really paying attention, and I also like that that when they open it up, it plays a chord in the key of C.
Yes, that's really cool.
But yeah, I mean, but if you were a kid, if you were a savvy kid watching this and looking up things, going to your local library, because at the time you wouldn't have had Google.
What's a library card?
And you're really paying attention, you'd have to look up everything, even if you think it might be real.
Yes.
Steve?
Yeah.
Because we've also somewhat recently had, well, the episode aired differently. Also, I don't like the riddle there brought back from the video game of the fastest way between 2 points on a globe, because you have to play the game to know what the riddle is. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of goes to Riddler cheating, because he has to win.
I love how haunting, or not haunting, excuse me. I love how taunting Riddler is in this.
Yeah. Oliver's voice is still the one that comes in my head.
That's cool.
Even more so than Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill.
See, now for me, it's between him and Wally Wingert, and it just depends on how menacing your Riddler is. Like go play some Arkham, and then get Wally Wingert's voice in your head, and then go read Zero Year. That's Wally Wingert.
Yeah, or I mean, go back and read 60s, 70s Batman comics, and it's...
This riddle's too easy. Like, it's the riddle that... And I mean, I get that, like, Riddler's obsessed with the human brain, so maybe... And with intelligence and being the smartest man in the room. So maybe he does that because of that obsession, and he doesn't even think about how easy it is. But in that riddle, the human brain has 2 lobes, just like DC Comics used to have 2 lobes.
Minotaur being hit by the hand of fate. That's really funny.
Oh yeah, that's true. A lot of this that like the hand of fate isn't. Ultimately, Batman's able to change it. Batman says in this episode, "I don't believe in fate." He proves it literally. But
the Harnack episode was really good and actually asserted a free will point, and then we have this episode where Batman...
But these things were always like kind of several made at the same time and stuff, and we would have that kind of correlation back to back. But I see why you're saying that, having just done that one.
I always love this ending.
Me too.
That this guy is just petrified now.
Happen very often, first of all.
Yeah, especially not in this show.
They usually either look like they died or they get put in prison or in Arkham.
Yeah.
And here, even though Batman outwits the Riddler and is able to cheat and win his game, Riddler is still like the worst. That sounds stupid.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really take him seriously right away. Like, he doesn't let his grandioseness and his taunting and his pretending to be this godlike figure get to him, because he's able to get through the facade, and because we didn't talk about Robin hardly at all, but he's got Robin there to help him figure out the riddles, and they put their 2 minds together. I kind of like that too, that there's kind of this teamwork motif. And in a Fox Kids show, when you got a teamwork thing and it doesn't come right out and spell it out and make a big deal about teamwork, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of the better episodes where Batman and Robin really felt like a bit of a team, and they had like a dynamic with each other.
And I really like that, because Riddler wouldn't think that he needs anybody else. Yeah. That, like, he's brilliant, and he can do everything by himself, and nobody else is smarter than him, and Batman is not above game, but just he's smart.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it always made me wish that in the comics we got a story where Riddler was facing down Tim Drake. Like, that would be the most interesting cerebral Batman story out there if that was ever made. That's
a really good point. Yeah. Has there ever been a Ra's al Ghul team up with the Riddler?
Once, I think. That's sounding really familiar. I think that.
Because I always thought that would be really interesting, because because you've got the Riddler who wants to be smarter than the world's greatest detective, and then you have Ra's al Ghul who really looks up to and respects the detective side of Batman.
Yeah, and I mean, Ra's al Ghul's got that whole honor thing, and Riddler's so full of himself that they'd be naturally kind of antagonistic towards each other.
Yeah.
Especially when Ra's al Ghul's a character that can best Batman a couple of times.
I mean, it sounds like an unlikely pairing.
Yeah,
but
it'd be interesting though. I could see that working.
I think there were a couple things that I meant to talk about with that episode that I couldn't get to. It's dense. I mean, we some of the other episodes we've done recently, there's just been a lot of kind of just sitting here and reacting to things. This one, I think both of us could probably do a lot of writing on that particular episode.
Oh, I think so. It's really interesting. It's one of the best introductions to a villain we've gotten, and this show does that pretty well for the most part.
It's just unfortunate when your introduction is your best episode. I mean, for that character, because Mr. Freeze has that too.
Yeah. I mean, Mr. Freeze has that through his whole history. He has never had a story as good as Heart of Ice since Heart of Ice.
And I can't think if there's any other. There's no other villains that just jump right out at me as well. Clock King was that way, but he only had a couple appearances.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really about it off the top of my.
I mean, I like Time Out of Joint, but
it's not great.
It's goofy.
Yeah. It's fun. What's his name? Killer Croc's best episode is the first one. Vendetta.
Oh yeah.
Vendetta's really good. Unless you want to count Almost Got Him, but he's not really the central. He's not even really in that technically.
It's also not even in that. Yeah. Because the thing is, that's the episode that my mind always goes to when we had episodes all that readily. I mean, like
he's got another one called Terror in the Sky, which is okay. It's not as beautifully animated as the first one, which I think is the big selling point for that episode. It's okay.
It's okay, but he definitely has better episodes after that. And I like the episode in the New Batman Adventures where he makes everybody not afraid. I think that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Oh yeah.
Demon's Quest.
I mean, I kind of think the best Ra's al Ghul episode is the Batman Beyond episode that he's not in, but
that's true. That's a really good episode too.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But next week, what's our next episode, Steve?
Next time we're
Joker's Wild.
Yes, Joker's Wild.
Cool.
The casino episode, which is kind of fun. It's okay.
I like a lot of things about it.
Yeah, it's really funny, if nothing else.
Well, we will see you then, and in the meantime, thanks again for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Steve Baxter.
See you later.